You can't pick and choose when consequences apply. If you agree with people getting fired over the views before, you can't disagree with what the Bulls did. Here's Stephen A. Smith on his opinions over the matter. Roll the clip.
Dame right up the road at South Bend. Stephen A., what do you make of the Bulls' decision here to waive Jaden Ivey?
It's perfectly within their right to do so. I've only met Jaden Ivey once or twice. I liked him. I met him when he was drafted. His parents were there, obviously. It's one of those situations. I think, and this is why I wanted to tackle this subject, because I wanted to make a point that's very, very important. People have their different views, and on First Take, especially, as long as I'm here, we're not going to sit up here and ostracize anybody. People are entitled to be conservative. They're entitled to be liberal. They're entitled to be, independent. Whatever side of the aisle you lean towards, whatever your religious beliefs or what have you, that's fine. But what's needed in terms of the message that's being conveyed, what's needed to be brought across is that just as I said those individuals have that right, so do the Bulls organization or any organization. They have a right to be picky about who they want representing their brand and their product, as does the NBA. The NBA, the NFL, and various sports leagues pride themselves on being inclusionary. That's the fact. That's the way that it goes. And they don't want to come across as alienating anyone. And when you say things and do things that are antithetical to anything that they represent, then you're going to hear from the brand. And by the way, Jaden Ivey, listen to me, my brother. I work for ESPN, which is owned by Walt Disney. It doesn't mean that I have to parrot Walt Disney's speech or I have to march lockstep in every single thing that we believe as a company. But I do have to be careful about what I say and how I convey my thoughts, my opinions, my beliefs, etc., being mindful and cognizant of a brand that you represent. It applies not just to an employer, it applies not just to a company, it applies not just to a league, it applies to everybody.
He's absolutely right. Organizations, businesses, corporations have the right to choose who's going to work for them and who's going to represent them. When Charlie Kirk got assassinated, God rest his soul, a lot of people came out in favor of Charlie getting killed, which is the most grotesque thing I've ever seen. And there was arguments of freedom of speech when it came to that. And a lot of people lost their jobs because of the comments they made. And I defended that. The businesses have every right to fire you. And in this case, which, by the way, I'm a Christian, okay? I don't agree with some of the viewpoints that the Democrats have. LGBTQ doesn't mean I don't love them. I do, but there's certain views that we just don't agree on certain things when it comes to, different genders or male gender playing in women's sports. I've always been against that, but I do think that we have to be inclusionary in a lot of these things, and bring them in. God talks about bringing everyone in, right? Doesn't matter their race, color, or their sexual orientation. That's just my opinion, and that's my belief. But that doesn't deny a company from taking action against somebody. And Jaden Ivey, I'm sure you're true to your conviction and you believe that. And I respect that. And if you can stand on that, then more power to you. And if those are truly your beliefs, then you can stand on it and you're not going to put your tail between your legs to try to get back to the league. I have complete respect because you're standing on your principles and what you believe in. Regardless of the track history you've had, because you've suffered a lot with mental health issues, but I don't think this situation has anything to do with mental health. I think these are your conviction and your beliefs, and I respect that. But the Bulls had every right to do what they did. They have to protect their brand. Agree with it, not agree with it. And the way you stand up against it, if you don't agree with what the Bulls did, is don't show up to the games. Don't put on the games. Don't give them ratings. Don't buy merchandise, right? That's how you send a statement to them that you don't agree with it. That's how markets move. Markets respond to the consumer. And if the consumer is still buying and still showing up to the games, then they're going to continue doing what they believe in, right? And protecting their brand. So I know this is a very hyperbolical type conversation. People get very animated because there's a lot of emotions on both sides. But I think both things can be true at the same time. Um, and listen, if you don't respect what the NBA did, don't show up. It's simple as that. If somebody treated me bad at a restaurant, one of the staff members, I don't go back to that restaurant. If somebody says something at a certain place that made me feel uncomfortable or doesn't align with my beliefs, I don't go back. So don't go back. You have every right not to go back, but go up in arms over this and you know go at the Bulls for making a decision that they felt was best for their organization, regardless of what you think. On a religious side or a political side, they have every right to do it. So we live in America. This is a capitalistic country, and this is what happens in this type of system, right? So I have no problem with what the Bulls did. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment. Catch you guys on the next one.